So my name is Abe Jeffers, and I'm the Executive Director of Secondary Schools. Back in November, we started the process looking at the current Binford School and saying, how could we basically increase the enrollment and turn this school around to where it's going to be a successful school. So a series of community meetings were held. Many of you may have attended those community meetings back over the month of November. In January, actually December, the school board was presented with 4 options about how we might proceed with the future of Binford Middle School. The board selected a combination of 2 of those, integrated arts and college SpringBoard. So the work that went into those 4 options was then blown up and more flesh was put onto that. And the primary players for that are going to be presenting the information to you tonight. And that's Ms. Christy Jo Adams and Mr. Anthony Washington, who are going to be leading most of the presentation tonight. Before we get into their presentation, what you see on the backboard on the slides going now is work that Binford students have already been doing with the art community, with DCU, with the interns over there. So if you're saying, what is that exactly? You're kind of seeing these things. There's a vibrant art community here, and the integrated arts program works out about tapping into that. The goal of combined integrated arts in the SpringBoard program is to be an attractive school for RPS parents to send their middle school students. Our goal is very simple. We want parents to say, I want my child to attend Binford. And we think this is a unique enough program and an attractive enough program that you're going to say after tonight, absolutely, how do I sign up? And you'll learn that tonight as well. So let me introduce quickly the other folks that are here. We have Dr. Benton is in the back, Superintendent of Schools, right there. We have Associate Superintendent, Ms. Andrea King. She's over all academic services. We have Chief of Staff, Ms. Candace Hunter. Assistant Superintendent for Facilities and Operations, Mr. Tom Krantz. Mr. Harry Warden, who is in charge of all people placements throughout the division and is the master of making all that work. Let's see. Mr. Terry Perkins, who is our Director of Curriculum Instruction. We have Mr. Sales, who is Assistant Principal at Binford. And he's probably wondering what's going on next year too, so it's him out. And Mr. Devontae Gardner, who is our IT, in charge of our IT program. So we have several folks here tonight. Our goal after the presentation will be to answer any questions you might have about the program. We want you to know what it's going to be like for your son or daughter at Binford Middle School next year. What is exactly, what is this exactly? That's the goal tonight. We'll spend as much time with you as you need, and hopefully you will enjoy the presentation and be influenced enough that you'll go home and tell your friends and neighbors that this is pretty cool and very different. There's nothing like this in Richmond, nothing like this in the surrounding area. So, who's first? Both of you now.
Good afternoon, and thank you for coming. I'm Christy Adams, the Instructional Specialist for Fine Arts. So I've been very involved in how this has become an arts integrated program. I want to talk to you a little bit about what arts integration is, and Mr. Washington will speak about SpringBoard, and we'll also talk about how this is going to work together. For many of you, you've already been introduced to arts integration. Many of you, when you were growing up, how did you learn your ABCs? You sang them, right? Did you sing your ABCs, or were they taught just A, B? So you've already been introduced in your earlier years to arts integration, and so we want to continue that process in the middle school for our students. We want the classrooms to be very different. We want them to enjoy coming to school, enjoy going to class, and learning. And that's what the art integration piece is about. It's about giving children another way to learn. So if you just take a moment and just look at the picture, arts integration. This can happen in a math class, an English class, a science class, or a history class, and that's what we're going to have for you at Binford next year. So we have adopted the Kennedy Center. We have a long partnership with the Kennedy Center of Performing Arts in DC, and we have adopted their definition of arts integration, which is what we're going to use to kind of provide a foundation for the arts integrated portion of your students' learning. So we'll just read this. Arts integration is an approach to teaching in which students construct and demonstrate understanding through an art form. Students engage in a creative process which connects an art form and another subject area and meets evolving objectives in both. So this arts integration will be in all of your child's classes. It will be a math class. You may walk into their class one day and you won't see any desks. You may just see chairs. You may not see anything but the students standing or sitting on the floor. I went to a conference this weekend, which was very exciting, presented by the Kennedy Center, which inspired me even more to want to do this. But there was a comic book artist, and he talked about literacy in the classroom, in the middle school classroom, how boys and girls don't enjoy reading anymore, or writing for that matter. And so he said they were trying, the teacher had been trying to get these students to write and to create. And so they called him in, he's a comic book artist. So he said, well, let's start backwards. He started with students, come up with a superhero. And we all want to be a superhero. So they designed a superhero, they colored him in, they decorated him, and then they presented their superhero to the class. Well, they thought they were finished. After they presented their superhero, he asked them to write about their superhero. Just a one-page essay. At the end of that, every student ended up with a book because he could not stop them from writing. And this was something that went on for over a month. It was only intended to go for a week. And after he left, the students kept writing and writing because they couldn't talk enough about their superhero. They ended up talking about the villain and the superhero. And so it became a book. And each student left that school with their own book and their own superhero. So these are things that will happen in your students, in your child's class, while they're in Binford. And I'm going to show you in just a second. We're going to talk a little bit about how this looks already in a classroom. I've had the privilege of talking with several people who have been in an arts integrated school, and it's working. And so this we were excited about because there's a school in Maryland that does just what we're going to do. And this is a lesson presented to a class in a middle school in Maryland.
Presents rotation or revolution.
So I decided to make 2 dance groups.
If I was doing learning out of a textbook, it wouldn't stick with me, because I'm a visual learner, I'm an active learner. So by doing exciting things, creative things, it sparks my interest. So then my mind keeps it on my mind, like, oh, remember when you did this, remember when you did that. When we have our unit tests, then I can know the characteristics of the different planets.
These are all the movements I want to see included in your choreography. I'm going to give you 2, okay?
Alec is the sun, and you get in the middle, and we all get in a circle at the very beginning.
Everyone is an expert of each planet, and we each go around it however fast the planet tries.
We've seen.
Wouldn't you want to be a part of this classroom? This is exciting to me to not have to walk into a classroom and sit at a desk all day. And so your boys and girls will have the opportunity to create a dance about rotation and revolution. And so when they come home, they will show you or can show you how they did it. You know, it's hard to listen or sit all day and try to understand. I was never one of those kinds of learners. I always needed to hear it in a different way. You know, just talking to me, I'm a visual person. I need to see it, hear it, touch it, taste it. And so your children will get an opportunity to do that on many levels and many subjects. And they'll also have the opportunity to not only experience some of that in the classroom of math, English, science, and history, but they may leave there and they can go to their dance class or theater class. And the math teacher will visit sometimes in the theater class to talk about dimensions and sizes and lengths and things of that nature and how to build a set. And so when the performance is all said and done, you've had a math lesson and a theater lesson.
So as you might have noticed, our slideshow got a bit rambunctious on us here since we've gotten started. But as we talked about arts integration, we wanted to calm a lot of people's fears because it's not really a new concept. Our focus on it in the sense of having an entire arts integrated school is. But as you saw in the warm-up slideshow, that Binford has been doing things with arts integration for years now, dating back, they have probably the most storied history of middle school as it relates to the arts in Richmond Public Schools. primarily because of their location situated between VCU School of Education, a couple of blocks from BMFA, down the street from the Richmond Ballet, so they have a lot of things like that. But the concept of arts integration actually dates back to something that most of us can recognize. We could play this video. I'm sure some of the people in this room recognize and seen this.
You sure got to climb a lot of steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
I'm just a bill, yes, I'm only a bill, and I'm sitting here on Capitol Hill. Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long week while I'm sitting in committee, but I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will, but today...
I'm sorry, but Schoolhouse Rock is definitely a way that you see arts integration, because while a song won't work for everything, there are several people of my generation, and as we discussed this, a lot of us had memories of Schoolhouse Rock in the way that those songs were created and tied into things that helped us to master content. But now in today's age and with the technology that we have, our students can create things like this as a part of their learning. So as a student, if I'm not particularly strong in writing, I may be able to act out a play or create a script or do something visually that allows you to know my understanding, whereas with a pencil and paper, I may have failed. And so that ties right into, not necessarily the next video, but to SpringBoard, but nonetheless. So I'll go into that and we'll get the video queued up. Exactly. So SpringBoard is actually a College Board program. College Board, the people who bring you AP exams and pre-AP and all of those wonderful things, as well as a host of other assessments and educational tools. They've created this with a continuous curriculum that runs from 6th grade through 12th grade in English language arts and in math. So what SpringBoard does is it provides a framework for learning that allows students to experience things in the way that College Board has seen demonstrated success through their research. So students will be involved in things like embedded assessments, where every lesson will then start with a mini version of the assessment that you'll have at the end of that unit, so that you're able to understand, kind of beginning with the end in mind, what you have to do and what is expected of you as a student while you're in that classroom. SpringBoard also provides what they call recursive and enrichment opportunities, and recursive opportunities for students who may be struggling or need some additional help, and enrichment opportunities for students who get it and are ready for what's next so that they have a deeper learning experience that takes place. We have a couple of videos here from some SpringBoard schools around the nation that you'll be able to view, and we're ready for this one.
SpringBoard benefits our college readiness plan in multiple ways. For us, the unique part of it is that we're actually utilizing SpringBoard in our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade classes, so that college readiness or preparation for AP doesn't begin when students walk on the campus in the 9th grade. Instead, what we do is we start to introduce concepts and processes as early as the 6th grade, and the curriculum itself is scaffolded so that as students learn a process, they will continue to use that process as they move forward into high school. Our goal with SpringBoard as a pre-AP program is to get more and more students into our AP programs and to have more students achieve a successful grade of 3, 4, and 5 on those AP exams.
I think with SpringBoard, the opportunity to build the classroom communities, students are working together, so if I have a strength in one area and I can piggyback on someone else's strength in another area, we're building a stronger product. So whether it's a paper they're doing or a project, the teamwork together, they're building a stronger piece, and that's going to impact them when they move on to whether it's college level, in a classroom setting, or if they're doing an internship, they're able to work stronger in a group. The SpringBoard curriculum, with the rigorous intent behind it, requires students to be more hands-on and more involved in their learning, and not sit back and take that approach of I'll just kind of pick it up as I go. So it's requiring them to think at a higher level and to be more involved in the classroom, more involved in their participation with the other classmates and with the instructor. And this level of rigor will also take them not only into their classroom but beyond, whether they're going into the college level, the workforce, the military, that we're having to produce a higher level of independent thinking and not rely on someone else to take those steps for them.
You know, obviously at this school with our second year, it's a little bit difficult. You look district-wide, yeah, we want to see more students get into the AP classes. We want to see those students be more prepared for college, and not so much be prepared for college, but be able to go in college and be successful. You know, part one's getting in, part two is being successful. So, and those results are starting to come in as we're going into, I believe, our 4th year now in this district. But I will tell you, the feel, the vibe, the kids love it. And the thing that they love is they're just more active in the classroom.
Well, right off the top of my head is vocabulary. They know, they'll be able to talk the talk. They'll be able to say literary analysis, internal conflict, external conflict. I think that's so important. I tell them all the time, you're so lucky to be exposed to vocabulary that SpringBoard exposes you to, because these are terms you're going to hear all through high school and in college.
So this gives you a bit of time-tested experience. These are teachers and administrators that operate in SpringBoard schools. And the way that SpringBoard and Arts Integration begins to work together, as you've heard these people say, they talk about how in the SpringBoard curriculum, students are much more active and much more hands-on and much more involved in their learning. And what we're able to do is take those activities and look at them through the lens of the arts, and in many ways that my colleague has discussed, to kind of blur those lines between a core curricular area and the fine and performing arts, so that the fine and performing arts are coming in the classroom in meaningful ways, that students are acting out the water cycle or doing some of the things that you've seen in these videos. But those core area subjects are also coming into the fine and performing arts, as students are able to analyze the geometry of a set to determine the mood, or to depict a certain scene by using depth and spacing on the stage, or even to analyze the math and science that goes into performing music, because music in itself is truly physics. So there are a lot of natural connections, and SpringBoard is flexible enough that we can work the arts integration into that curriculum in a meaningful way that we believe will benefit all of the students that choose to attend Binford.
You heard Mr. Washington talk a little bit about assessing students, and that's always a big thing. You want to know how your students are going to be assessed. And one thing about the arts integration piece is that it doesn't always have to be pencil and paper. So your students can demonstrate their understanding through an art form, which is fantastic for those types of students who understand it but don't know how to write it or present it in a different way. And so teachers are able to understand or know that they understand the concepts, or that they've mastered it by demonstrating through an art form, whether it's a theater piece or a poem or singing, you know, or something close to that. I know when I was younger, you take a test, and if the teacher sang it to you, you kind of went through it in your head as you were writing it down. And so students, you may see some of that when you walk into their classrooms with an arts integration. This next video, just kind of, you hear it from a student's voice. It's going to be a little short piece, but just so you can hear a student who is participating in arts integration in their school. Okay, well, you get to see a student as they participate. You get to see a student. But that's just, what you see up there is going to take place at Binford. We will be having dance and theater and all sorts of the art forms there. But I do want to just quickly, we talked about some of what can happen in the classroom, but another part of it is I witnessed at a conference as well that there were students who did not understand the water cycle. They had heard it hundreds of times, the teacher had gone over it many times, but there were a couple of students who still didn't understand they were getting the parts confused, or how, you know, they understood that they were parts, but they mixed them up. And so the teacher finally said, okay, let's do this. Let's create groups of 4 and 5 and 6, and you all act out the water cycle. And so the teacher had the opportunity to walk around to the student groups and say, this is out of order, what part of you? And it was very interesting because the students couldn't talk to each other. And so they had to use nonverbal communication and create the water cycle without talking about it. So they really had to have a clear understanding and demonstrate it to each other and to the teacher, which is fantastic because you have to, without speaking, you have to know how it works. And so those are some of the things that will take place. Again, like I said, you may walk in the classroom, they won't have chairs, and there may be a couple chairs, and there may be kids sitting on the floor, moving about in the hallways and things of that nature. So we look forward to what can happen in a classroom of arts integration and SpringBoard. It is, it's a perfect set of concepts. And please remember, with arts integration, it's not a curriculum. It's arts, using the arts to help children learn better and understand better.
And I think she brings us to an important distinction between that of Binford Middle School and a specialty school, in that the goal of Binford Middle School is not to develop the next Picasso or great artist, in a sense. The goal of Binford is to use art to help students learn. So we're trying to achieve academic goals by using the arts, and a lot of the examples that we've given can be used as formative and summative assessments. So you can show me what you know by demonstrating the water cycle through the arts, but as a teacher, it also tells me what challenges you're having by how you don't act out the water cycle properly. So I'm able to then understand the struggle that you may be having and work with you in a different way so that you're able to grasp that content knowledge. And because Binford is not a specialty school, it will be engaging in the open enrollment process for students to enter that is currently underway. You can apply for open enrollment through the Office of Pupil Placement. Those applications are available until March 6th at 4:30 p.m. So you need to either be postmarked on March 6th or received actually in the Office of Pupil Placement by March 6th. At this time, I think we're almost ready for questions. If anyone hasn't seen anything that we've been remiss in reporting that we've discussed. So we'll open up the floor. I believe one mic should suffice for us for the evening. And if anyone had any questions, feel free to bring them up. Yes, ma'am.
How big do you predict the class sizes to be?
Class sizes, if I'm correct, 21. I'm sorry, the question was how big do we predict the class sizes would be?
Our goal as a division is to build our classes 24-1, and so we would optimize, hopefully we could optimize our classes 24-1. That would be what we desire to have. One quick note, I don't know if I mentioned at the beginning, we are recording tonight's session, so hope you're okay with that. So we're recording these questions, and we'll be playing it on our website so that other folks can have a chance to see the presentation, to hear what was shared, and hear your questions and the answers to those questions as well. Sir, and we'll repeat it for the recording.
So I have two questions. One of them is talk about SOL testing. It causes consternation in many households across the city and the Commonwealth. And how I've heard you talk about testing and the process of assessment, and how this gives teachers the opportunity to assess students differently based upon the different styles of learning. But talk about, sorry, it was a long one. Just talk about testing and how it will be different, but relative to SOL. Is there a way for SOLs to test with this?
Well, no, the SOLs are mandated tests throughout the Commonwealth of Virginia that every student at Binford will still be required to take. There is no exemption or anything of that nature going along with this. But success on the SOLs is truly based on the students' learning and understanding. So that if we're able to increase student learning by using the arts, those students will, in a logical conclusion, perform better when they get to those standardized tests. So it's not the manner of instruction, but it's the student being able to internalize that learning and being able to apply it on those standardized tests. That's the goal. And using the arts integration is another way of trying to help some students get to that type of success. And you got a second part to that question.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit of a longer conversation, I think, for now on that answer. The follow-up question is, so a student goes through middle school in a setting like this, and they go on to high school, and maybe that high school doesn't follow this methodology and goes back to traditional classroom. has there been any kind of study or analysis of how students perform going back into that setting in the high school setting, that traditional setting?
Not to my knowledge. I'm not familiar with any research of a student leaving or having any trouble or anything negative being associated with having studied in an arts integration curriculum. The goal is to really maximize student learning while you have that child in that middle school. And I mean, at 8th grade, there are a lot of specialty school options in Richmond Public Schools that a lot of children choose based on, again, their interests. So the arts integration is really an interest piece and a learning style piece for students. And if you learn in that style, maybe it may take you to a career in the arts where you may look at one of those types of schools, but it also could be that it was just what you needed to get you through middle school, and now you're prepared for some more rigorous and maybe a different style of learning, so the child may choose Richmond Community or an IB program or something like that as they get up to high school, or even transitioning into a comprehensive high school. I think if you have a robust learning experience, that translates to wherever you go, regardless of the style of that particular school.
Will the teachers be required to be qualified to lead this sort of arts integration? And if they,
yes.
And how will they be qualified to do that?
We already have training lined up. Teachers will receive an extensive amount of professional development in this area through some of our community partnerships, which you'll see in a little while. We've got University of Richmond who signed on to do professional development. We also have, and their partners in the arts program, VCU has already offered, and the Kennedy Center, we already have someone lined up to start as soon as we're ready to present professional development in that area. So they will be highly qualified. We will train teachers in that area. We will provide professional development so that they will all have it.
Well, the teachers were, during the year, there's always a time when teachers are given an opportunity to transfer, and the teachers at Binford have been made aware that this will be an arts integration school the following year. So they do have that option to say, you know what, this is not my thing, I want to go somewhere else. But every teacher in that building will receive this training through our partners in the arts and will be required to go to all of the professional development associated with being an arts integrated school.
Will they be held accountable to do this?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
But you need to make sure that they're aware that it's not just arts integration. You can't do the SpringBoard without the training. That was the strongest component of that model. That College Board requires the teachers to be trained to do the SpringBoard program.
Yeah, and if there's a teacher in that building, it's not like they have the option to go. We're bringing the professional development in the building to the teachers, so you have no way to not be trained unless you decide no longer to work there. So, yes.
When the support approved this, the combination SpringBoard and integrated arts program, Dr. Bed went over and met with the teachers at Binford and said, here's the decision. And you have a chance to consider this and think about it. We're going to be approaching you, they're going to learn about what this looks like in the classroom because they haven't actually seen this yet. This is the first show. So they're going to have to make a decision, do I want to be here? But if they choose to stay at Binford, they will be getting professional development in the College SpringBoard, and they will be getting professional development in making sure that they don't have to be one person asked and says, well, I can't sing or dance, can I teach at Binford? Well, that doesn't enter into it. As long as you can recognize that students are demonstrating their learning and understanding through the arts, and you can assign projects that would require students to do that, then those teachers will in fact follow the curriculum. So, but yes, everyone there will be doing this. That's part of the program.
As a grandmother, this is also new to me. How am I going to be able to help my child, my grandson? They help with grandparents?
Well, obviously, the principal will have some time where parents and families are invited in the school, so you're able to see what your child is doing and learning. But just as an advice, and not necessarily only related to Binford, but allow your child to teach you when they come home. So if they've learned something new in the arts that you've never heard of and never seen before, allow them to explain it to you and see if they can give you an understanding of it. And if they can teach it to you, you know they know it. So that's one way that you as a parent, without any knowledge, could just allow them and talk with them about it and see how those things are going. So there'll be opportunities for parents to come in as there are in all of our schools. But in addition to that, that's a good way that you might be able to do some things.
Yeah, I think that's going to be key to success here. Just as if you think about moving, some people talk about standards-based report cards, and you no longer see A, B, C, Ds, and things like that. This is going to be talking about learning in a little different way. And so it is going to take some understanding there and communication with the school and the community to say, this is how we're assessing the learning. And to that earlier question, the question about the SOLs are there, and Virginia is probably going to reduce those numbers some. But if students are truly learning and they were accessing content and engaging in the content, then that's just going to switch on all the pieces of their mind. And when that content comes to the teachers, still will be mindful of the SOLs, and that those basic guides will still, it's not going to say, oh, never mind, SOLs out the window. Students will be demonstrating knowledge of content people recognize, but they might be doing it in a very different way. And so it will take some work as parents and grandparents to understand, show me, and I think what Mr. Washington said there is a great way to do it. If they can teach it to you, they've got it.
Just to go back to Matt's question, if I could maybe offer a suggestion. I hope that the schools will have kind of a check-in opportunity for the staff and faculty, many of whom who maybe embrace the idea of going to this teaching style, but some of whom it might be their first time. So hopefully there'll be a mechanism for them to be able to get input from maybe the grandmothers and the parents and the students, but then also just be able to kind of get a mid-year infusion and ideas and ways to bounce, this new methodology along so they can get the idea.
We won't have to wait until mid-year. Through our partners in the arts and through specialists like Ms. Adams and myself, we're frequently in classrooms working with teachers, helping to troubleshoot those types of issues, provide feedback and see how a particular lesson went, or provide some suggestions for enrichment or recursive opportunities. So that's going to be an embedded ongoing process throughout this. So it won't have to be a mid-year check. It's pretty much the majority of our day-to-day.
Other questions?
In my opinion, some leaders can lead almost anything. They're just born leaders. They know how to inspire others, and they know how to lead through all kinds of challenges. Some leaders gain from experience. They learn by working with a particular curriculum. That's what makes them a good leader. What kind of leader should we expect will be leading Binford through this change?
So glad you asked. So certainly we're looking to do professional development with the leader. So I certainly can't speak to who the leader may be or anything like that, but that person needs to be grounded, obviously, in instruction, as we expect for all of our leaders to be. And also have some understanding of how students portray how they learn through the arts. So it's a dual piece. Just like we have the expectation that teachers will be able to integrate, we certainly have the expectation that the leader will be able to not only integrate, but lead the integration and evaluate that integration. So the parent piece, the grandparent piece, and keeping the community involved and working with the community partners, they're all qualities that we're looking for in a leader.
So we don't have a principal yet.
So I mean, I can't speak to that.
We don't have a principal yet, please. We do not have a principal yet. We will be looking for a principal. And we will be looking for a principal in this program, as Dr. King suggested. Now, remember, this is an integrated arts SpringBoard program. So we have this combination of things which, we want to make sure that everyone's clear on how that piece works together. College Board SpringBoard program is not a test that kids are going to take. It's a way of accessing knowledge in math and language arts, right? Now, the model that we put through here, Dr. Bedden has submitted in his estimation of needs to the school board, includes a one-to-one electronic device model. Okay, so this will be our first school, in school, that we're proposing we would have, students would have electronic devices to use in the school to assist with the teaching and the learning and the integration of that content curriculum throughout all the courses. So that's another exciting piece we have about our model we're putting forth here. Not only are we going to be allowing students to demonstrate their understanding and engaging content through the arts, and through a very proven successful method of accessing math content and English language arts, but we're also going to be using more of our first one-to-one models of electronic devices so students can access that. Live access to the web, live access to the maybe different pieces that they're creating, creation of those tools and the ways they're going to demonstrate their knowledge. All that stuff will be part of using these electronic devices. So it is going to take a very different type of mindset for teachers, for administration, and for you for this to be a success. So we're very excited to have something as unique as this bringing forward in Richmond. No question?
I always have to try to put the past with the future, okay? So is this a kind of like what they used to have, like a magnet school, you know, where you attract other students to this school, they have to apply, okay? And it's also aligned with the current curriculum, correct?
Yes. All right, so two of the big ideas there. One is this a magnet school? Okay, magnet school, she said you'd apply for it, you would go through some kind of application process, and you'd be selected or not, right? So by that definition, Binford is not a magnet school. It is a school, as I said at the beginning, our goal is to increase the enrollment and not just have students transfer from other RPS schools, but we want parents who currently may send their students to private school, or they may homeschool, or they may move out of the division while their students are going through school age. We want those parents to choose to attend Binford. The process is not an application process. It is through the open enrollment process. And Mr. Morgan's here, he can explain that much better than I can. But basically, if you're interested in going there, go to our website, fill out the open enrollment paperwork that says basically, I'm zoned for this school, I want to go to Binford. There's a lottery process, so 500 people put in, we have 200 seats available, then 200 to 500 we get selected. And there's a very formal process Mr. Morgan uses to go through that. So in that sense, it is not a magnet school. Now, think about the reason we did this. We want to increase enrollment in our middle school. We want to build that, this is something new and different. We believe this is going to really help some of our students, and it's different enough that we think some parents may say, you know what, I'm going to give that a look. But we also, if you think about what the school board approved, they approved this as an open enrollment model, which says we want all students in RPS to be able to benefit from this. Every student has equal access to go to Binford. The zone, the students who live in the zone, the Binford attendance zone, they can all attend. That was part of the agreement. So that's only about 200 students. So they all, if they choose to attend, they can attend. We have seats for all of them. It's the other folks, maybe through in the division, maybe homeschooling, whatever. It's the rest of the folks that we want to attract to come over here. Either our current RPS or non-RPS, we want them to come over. Because we believe this model, and SpringBoard is not an exclusive advanced program. Integrated Arts is not an exclusive program that's only for gifted kids. This is a program that will benefit all students, and we believe that we would put it in for benefit all students who are able to get into the program. So we like that part of it. And we very purposely kept it that way. Now the other piece of it, how do I get my kid there? And I thought there might be some questions on it, but pretty quiet that way. Transportation is going to be provided through a hub system. So it's not going to be the neighborhood block, the bus stop that you might see kids stand there now. It'll be a hub system, which normally is going to be, you would get your kid to this school or this particular site. And then an RPS bus would pick them up and bring them to Binford. It'd be division-wide. So if you live down in the Bouchal area, then wherever that hub location is, you get your child to that location, the bus would then run from there to over here, and at the end of the day, they would take them back to that hub spot. So there is a little bit of a, how do I get my kid to the hub? But you wouldn't have to drive your kid to Binford and drop them off here. So like other open enrollment, if you choose, if you currently live in the Binford zone and you want your child to go to Martin Luther King, you have to provide your own transportation. Okay, that's the model of open enrollment. We're doing this one a little different because we want to make this as successful as we can for all students. So, and the curriculum, the other big piece of that, the curriculum is, we have, Dr. Kane and her crew, Dr. Perkins and all have worked hard this year to align our curriculum with the state to make sure that the curriculum being delivered is the proper curriculum and that it's aligned with the SOLs and that it's properly aligned with the state curriculum. That will not change for integrated arts and SpringBoard. We will just teach that through this new method. Wait, right here.
Two questions. One to follow up on the transportation. About transportation, you say that it's funded for this year. Is that funding going to continue, or will we get into 8th grade and suddenly we have to get our kids to school on our own? And my second question is about interscholastic competitions. Will there be sports teams or mind games, that sort of thing, that we see in the other middle schools?
So the first question, the school system's budget is always an annual budget, and so the school board will have to approve it each year. If you go review the budget documents that have been presented so far, certainly they would have to revisit that each year, but it would be rolled into the transportation budget. Unless the school board voted to change that, which they can, in theory, the school board could change any piece of this at any given time. But the expectation would be that's how we're going to transport students to Binford. That's the model we've adopted, and that's what we will continue. So there's a lot of guarantees on that sort of thing. The expectation, I think, would be put in the superintendent's estimation of needs next year as well, and the board will fund it. The other piece was extracurricular, co-curricular sports. Yes, Binford would remain a normal middle school, and all the sports and extracurriculars they participate in now, they would certainly continue that. They would just have more students. Our goal is to have about 500 students here, 525 is what we're hoping for, instead of 206. And so we're hoping, in that case, we're going to have more opportunities for our students to be involved in clubs and activities, because there might be more, 5 of us might be interested instead of 2 of us interested in starting a club. So, yes, that would continue. Interscholastics, all of those sports and activities, yes.
All right. Both of you guys were up at the end.
Ms. Adams, can you please talk about some of the unique arts offerings outside of the classroom? Dance and theater, you mentioned those are exciting. I'd love to hear more about that.
We have included, or we intend to have, full-time dance, full-time theater, full-time band, orchestra, chorus, and a creative writing component as well with the students. So those are very unique. It will be one of our first middle school dance programs. And we've talked with several entities and community partners with Center Stage. There they are, Richmond Symphony. Richmond Symphony's already signed on. We've got youth orchestras and all sorts of things that they want to tap into the students at Binford and give them an opportunity. So there are lots and lots of opportunities.
She was there.
I remember Binford has a wonderful auditorium, and it probably hasn't been used to capacity. So this sounds like a wonderful, wonderful facility for this program.
Thank you. Binford actually has an ideal auditorium for these types of things, for dance and theater.
Hello. I didn't attend the previous Binford meetings that you have, so forgive me if this is redundant, but in regards to promoting this program, how are you doing that into the community or the elementary school? Like, how are we going to get the new 6th graders into this program? And how are parents finding out about this program?
Well, looking at our numbers tonight, we did do a great job of that. What we did last week, we sent on a letter to all 5th graders. All 5th graders received a letter in their elementary school. So the principal received it, they printed it out and gave it to all the 5th graders, announcing the 5 meetings that we have scheduled. So tonight's the first one. We also have it on our website. We did press releases to all local media. And of course, there's a story today in the Times Dispatch about this, promoting it, and also naming our meeting. So we pushed it out as much as we can. And as far as 6th grade, all the middle school principals received an email with that same with a slightly adjusted backpack letter that they took home because we think current sixth grade students might also be interested in moving over for 7th grade. So all 5th and 6th graders in the division received it, and then we're trying to reach the rest of the bigger Richmond community through the media outlets that we've done. So that's the method that we're trying to communicate. We're hoping that, you know, by recording this, more folks might click on it. You might go tell somebody, they will go tell somebody else. They'll look at it, they can have questions, they can view this, learn more about it, and get that excitement there. So that's what we're trying to do. And we're hoping for about 250 new students. I mean, that's what we're looking for.
So I really like what you're saying about the additional classes, but I'm wondering how that's going to work with the schedule, and if there's going to be a change for the schedule. Currently, Binford's on a 70-minute schedule with 4 core classes and 1 elective class a day. Is that going to be altered so the students will have the opportunity to participate in all this amazing stuff that's coming their way?
That's a great question. The question
Or is that for each term?
Your question is right on. It is accurate that we do need to probably adjust our middle school schedule to afford our students not just at Binford but everywhere to access more electives. However, right now we are in a narrow place, so we're going to be working with the school board in the next few weeks to try to get the latitude to make that happen. It will be very hard to do it in the current model. Integrated arts will not be, because regardless of the class they're sitting in, they're going to be accessed to there. But if you want to, you know, one thing that we anticipate is having more fine arts teachers at Binford. Not to necessarily help students be better artists and better musicians, but we think that it is a natural, if your son or daughter has an inclination for the arts, you might think this might be a good venue for them to be learning. And so we would want to have a way to develop those arts, which means they would need more electives. So the long answer to a pretty simple question actually is, yes, we need to make a change.
Instead of a question, this is just general feedback. I've got 3 children that have been very fortunate to be Bolton. And I've got one of them is now a 6th grader in an IB program in Lucille Brown. And I have a daughter who's a rising 6th grader, and I have a son who's a rising 1st grader. And while my son, I think, is a good fit with Lucille Brown, my daughter is tested for Lucille Brown, but I think that based on everything I've heard, she would do much better here based on who she is, her style of learning, and her gifts and talents. So I'm excited what I'm hearing, and I'm looking forward to supporting this and doing what I can as an individual and part of this community effort to see it happen.
Thank you. We appreciate it. If we leave here tonight, tell 5 people, that would be phenomenal. Because we do want people to know about this and get excited about it.
With the arts integration and more classes coming in as part of dance, theater, will that eliminate some electives in the building? Or will all electives stay?
My philosophy, and I think the philosophy of administration, is that we want to build schedules that are student-driven, so that the student course requests will, in fact, be driving courses that are taught in the school, and we would not have more courses offered than with student demand and support. So if there are currently 5 Tech Ed classes at Binford, but next year's sign-up would only be 3, then we'd have to say that Tech Ed teacher is still a full-time teacher. But how do we, so we have 3 periods here, that person needs to teach 2 classes somewhere else in the division, so you work on a split there. So our schedules, for several reasons, greater reasons, need to be built for the student needs, not for the teacher needs, in that sense.
Ms. Kame, I want to touch on the work they're doing to clean up our course offering.
Oh, thank you. Of course, I wasn't following where we wanted to go with that. So if the question is, will we lose electives, I'd like to reframe that and say that we will offer electives that are of interest to our students. So we want to open their schedule so that they can take more electives, so that they have access to more electives. So if it's dance or if it's creative writing, we'd like to open their schedule up so that they can access those courses. So will all schools have all the same electives? No, no, but we'd like to open up those schedules so they have an opportunity to access. Does that respond to the question? Yeah, okay.
Others, you got a great opportunity tonight.
I have a question and a comment also. With the transportation, so you said you'll have to go to like a hub school and pick up, so we also have to pick them up in the afternoon.
That'd be correct.
From the hub.
Yes.
You're gonna need to repeat it, so loud.
I'll sort of repeat it.
Everyone heard the question. I think if we have a hub system that you drop off in the morning, you'd also pick them up from that same hub location, then the answer would be yes. That's how that would work.
Make a comment because if for a single parent that works full time and has a latchkey kid, can't just leave work to pick up, doesn't work for a single parent. But I do like that for this school. I have a question. Is Binford an accredited middle school?
Binford is currently fully accredited, yes. Accredited. Yes, it is accredited. We only have one non-accredited school, and that's Thompson. Yeah.
With the curriculum, will it be following like a textbook curriculum and we'll be able to take home the textbook? I know the current school, I haven't seen a textbook all year. And not that I'm always bring home a textbook, which makes it hard for me to have to Google anything when I can't figure it out. It makes it hard for me to help her at home. Will we have textbooks to take home?
So to respond to that.
You gotta repeat it so the camera can capture the question.
She.
But the camera, it was really low, we couldn't.
Oh, okay.
The question is, her daughter currently cannot bring home textbooks, and will Binford students be able to bring home textbooks, or how will that work at Binford? Will the teachers be following textbooks?
So for the English and math to start out, Binford will participate in a one-to-one technology, a device. So they'll have access to technology. So they'll get most of their text type or written material via a device. And if you have access to the internet, then they'd be able to access that from home, wherever they are. But if you don't, we're looking at some opportunities for families that do not have access to internet to have some very, very highly discounted opportunities to get internet in the home. And it also could be accessed from the library and those kinds of places as well. So we're moving away from so much of the hard copy of text and just moving toward more text online and that kind of thing because it's interactive and kids can do more with it.
We're like new to the side of town, so I'm just getting used to all this stuff here. I know where we used to live, the students, they were getting laptops. We were able to take textbooks to them and things of that sort. And we moved over here, and it's like they can't even bring a textbook home. And then we're expected for them to find out the information online somewhere. So I said, you all are moving towards technology, using it that way. My question is why on this side of town they don't have what other sides of town have where they can get laptops? I know they use it at school, but then they're pretty much left out in the dark when they come home.
So when you say the other side of town, I'm assuming you are still talking about the city of Richmond Public Schools? You're talking about a different...
West End, they're getting laptops. So we come over here, they can't even get a textbook to take home.
It's a different district. It's a different school district. And so they may do one thing and Richmond Public Schools does another thing. Hopefully we'll get to a place where we're able to send our devices home. This is new. Actually, Binford will be the first middle school that has that one-to-one. So it's a brand new opportunity. And the SpringBoard program that we're looking at is the online, it's the digital version of SpringBoard. So that is online.
And I would say a quick comment about textbooks. Textbooks are written basically by Texas and California and tweaked minorly for other states. And so a textbook is, you've seen the monstrous textbooks that students carry around with them. It's impossible. It would take years to go through all the content, yet all the content's in there to meet the needs of different states. So textbooks should be a resource, and if we can access that content through a non-hard-backed manner, then I think that'd be our goal, is to get away from that idea.
But if you don't, yeah, certainly technology is another piece of it.
I do like that idea, but I'm like saying some schools now they just leave it out, they leave it in the dark, they have nothing. You have Google and that's it. So when I don't understand something, she has no material, you know, to reference. I have to Google it and pray God is right.
Yeah, that won't. it won't be the case with SpringBoard or with the arts integration piece. I know Mr. Washington might want to say something.
Yeah, well, because we are using the digital textbook version of SpringBoard, when your child comes home, you will no longer be in the dark. They have resources that parents will be able to access to assist students with their homework, so they'll be able to log in and basically pick up where they left off in class kind of seamlessly. So at least you won't be in the dark any longer. You'll be able to look and see what your child did for that day and what they need to be working on at this moment, so that you'll have some resources that will be able to help you with those things. So that won't be a problem in this.
As a parent, I just wanted to say thanks for the commitment that the school district showed to this presentation, and with the participation by so many senior members of staff. And it's exciting to see that the school district is excited about this. It feels like it's a part of a strategic plan put into action, which I think we need. You know, we've been a little bit listless, it seems like, for a long time with regard to middle school. At least that's from my perspective. And this feels like direction, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dr. Bed?
Don't wait till everybody's done, because we're going to close out. My goal is over. Good evening. I just want to thank you all for taking the time to come find out. Wish there were more, maybe the other meetings there will be more. We are excited. We're actually kind of taking the Star Trek approach. Boldly go where no man has gone before. By taking the two and putting them together, I assure you that we talked to College Board. Arts integration piece was a no-brainer and easy. And then we have like the arts integration queen standing here. And the question was to College Board, can these work together? And they said absolutely. The great opportunity here is letting children do it differently, but also bringing on alongside the rigor that comes with College Board on the math and ELA. And that's what's going to be exciting. $1.2 million investment in this program. That's what we're talking about. $1.2 million investment. But I also assure you that there are things that we're going to learn along the way that we're going to have to tweak and modify, that it's not going to be perfect. So I ask that you work with the teachers, you work with the staff as they're going to go through, because we have talked about it. It's going to be a learning curve for the teachers. But they're going to have a chance to opt out those who are comfortable with it, because we want them to feel comfortable in the role that they're playing. And you're going to have a bunch of them who are going to say, I'm excited about this, and I'm going to be learning with my children, I'm going to be leading them, and then I'm going to be guided on the side. Because with the technology piece, a lot of our children are going to jump in and be driving the thing like they've been riding forever. And then I'm teaching them to be comfortable, using them and letting them be a part of the learning process also. So I hope you will share the information with others so that they make an informed decision. We're transforming as much as possible our middle schools within the constraints that we have to work with financially. Someone said they're at Brown. Brown is becoming a homeschool, IB model. So that, but the big benefit of that is not so much as we're saying that we don't have to have this school in a school model. The first big impact is going to be all teachers within the building are going to be trained in the delivery of the IB model. Then whether you're taking an IB class or not, you get the benefit from the teaching strategies that come with the program. Thomas Jefferson is becoming a homeschool IB model. So our intent, hopefully, is that we continue to build and transform our middle schools. I will tell you that there are several of the middle schools who already bought SpringBoard. Principals are clamoring to get it. So we're trying to do a thoughtful rollout. We can only do so much with the digital platform too. This is going to be the first, for lack of a better term, beta site, as we learn what we don't know about the challenges. We have ordered an extra set of, we will be ordering, of mobile devices kind of like a library book. So when there's a special circumstance or a project that the teacher has, they can check it out. They got to return it in a certain period of time so every student can have access to support that situation. College Board actually has a lot of resources actually on their site to support exactly what you're talking about. So you can go see the information. That's going to be the most wonderful thing about it also. So we're excited. We hope you spread the word and tell people to come out to other meetings if they have missed this one. Our goal was to put it on the website so that we don't let transportation or schedules limit people from learning more. The cheapest, best advertisement is word of mouth. So go and chat. Thank you very much.